I feel really energized to be here. I think that the youth of this movement are some of the most inspiring people that I've ever had the privilege to work alongside. And to the youth who organized this event today, like, you're doing the work. Don't let anybody demean what you've done here. Don't let anybody tell you that because this is in a suburb, it doesn't mean anything. It means a lot, and you're doing real work here. I think that Minnesota, having moved here and lived here for about 5 years, is one of the most racist places I've ever had to exist in. I remember my first overt experience with racism was in school, and it was actually when we had moved back up north for me to go to school in Iowa. I was maybe 9 years old, and I got called the N-word in the lunch line. And none of the white adults around me did anything about it. None of my peers really knew what to do about it. And the person who called me this slur at 9 years old didn't really face any repercussions. And I think that illustrates that racism is something that starts at home, and it starts really young. And it's something that white people need to solve. It's not on black people to fix racism. Racism is a white people problem. And as long as white people refuse to do the work of decolonizing their minds, there's gonna be racism, because y'all created that problem and y'all benefit from that problem. We have to keep going to these places because this is where racism roots itself. This is where racism really digs its claws into these white kids, because it feels good to them. It feels good to have that kind of power over other students. It feels good to make students of color feel like shit every day because it makes them feel powerful. We also have to be really vigilant in our own spaces. White people have to be vigilant no matter how woke you think you are. You have to keep checking in with yourself, with your black friends. You have to actually listen to them. If somebody is telling you that your behavior is problematic, that it's racist, you have to take that in. You have to do it without crying. You have to do it without getting upset. You have to do it without qualifiers. You have to do it without getting defensive. You have to take it in and listen to what's being said and do the work to change your behavior. Because none of us are immune to having grown up in these environments. Every black person that I know, regardless of whether they grew up in an economically privileged area or not, all have experiences with racism. And all of us have, to some extent, internalized those experiences. And the same is true for white people. Regardless of how many protests you've gone to, regardless of how many of Bell Hooks's essays you've read, whether you went to a liberal college, it doesn't matter. You grew up in the same environment, and you have to do the work constantly. There is no end goal to the work of unlearning racism.